What float to use for murky pay lakes and small fish? Pro secrets for anglers, yo, fishing squad? Welcome back to Fishing 24 Hours, your go-to channel for epic fishing adventures, killer tips, and stories that'll get your heart racing. Today we re-tackling a real angler's headache. What float to use for murky pay lakes and small fish? In those cloudy, muddy pay lakes, small fish like bluegill and juvenile carp swarm your bait, making your float dance like crazy. While the big ones, common carp, big bluegill play, hard to get, don't sweat it. This video breaks down how to pick the right float, color, and sensitivity, plus pro tricks to hook big fish in murky water. Grab an ice-cold soda, kick back, and let's dive into this fish hunting quest. It all kicked off one hazy morning at Lake Fork, Texas, where the water was murkier than a milkshake and small fish were nibbling like piranhas. My crew and I showed up, armed with bright floats and worm bait, casting with high hopes. But our floats kept twitching from tiny fish, and the big carp were nowhere to be found. I was about to pack it in when my buddy Ethan, our group's gearhead who's always testing new tricks, leaned over and said, "Yo, murky water needs a heavy float, bright red, set deep to dodge those small fry, chum heavy to pull in the big boys." I took his advice, switched to a 3-gram red float, dropped a fishy bait to the bottom, and chummed like crazy. In under 8 minutes, my float dove, and I reeled in a 4-pound carp thrashing like a rock star. The crew went nuts, hollering like we'd hit the jackpot. That day I bagged more big fish, my bucket overflowing, grinning ear to ear. That's when it clicked. Murky water fishing needs the right float game. In this video, we're unlocking the secrets to fishing murky pay lakes, swarming with small fish. I'll break down why murky water is tough, how to choose the perfect float, type, color, sensitivity, bait and chum recipes, best times to fish, pro techniques, real-world stories from Lake Fork and Canyon Lake, tips for beginners, and safety notes. These tricks work in pay lakes across the U.S., from Texas to Arizona, for carp, bluegill, and even catfish. Let's dive in. Why are murky pay lakes and small fish tough to fish? Murky pay lakes with small fish are an angler's nightmare. Cloudy water cuts visibility, making big fish like carp and bluegill extra cautious. Only biting strong-scented, easy-to-digest bait. Small fish, juvenile bluegill, tiny carp are quick and greedy. Nibbling bait before big fish can get to it, making your float twitch nonstop. At Canyon Lake, Arizona, after a rain, the water turned muddy and small fish swarmed my bait, leaving no chance for bigger catches. No shade or underwater structure like logs or rocks means big fish roam, hard to pin down. That's why picking the right float type, color, sensitivity is your ticket to beating this challenge. One wrong move, like using a light float or dull color, and you're stuck with an empty bucket. I've fished countless murky lakes, and the float is your game changer. Choosing the right float for murky pay lakes, picking the perfect float is step 1 to outsmart murky water and small fish. Here's the breakdown on type, color, and sensitivity. Float type. Go for a heavier float, 2.5 to 4 grams, to resist small fish nibbles. Light floats under 2 grams. Twitch too much from tiny bites, masking big fish hits. Slim, long body floats 6 to 8 inches are ideal, keeping bait near the bottom and catching light bites from carp or bluegill. At Lake Fork, a 3-gram slim float helped me filter out small fish noise. Float color. Murky water kills visibility, so choose bright, easy 2-spot colors like fire red, neon yellow, or blazing orange. Avoid dark colors, green, black, that blend into cloudy water. A float with a contrasting tip red on yellow stands out under sunlight. At Canyon Lake, a bright red float let me spot big bluegill bites, despite the murk. Float sensitivity. Pick a super sensitive float with a small tip 2 to 3 millimeters diameter to detect light bites from big fish. Set it to balance 9, fish 5, keeping bait at the bottom 6 to 8 inches, to dodge small fish in upper layers. Sensitive floats distinguish small fish twitches fast, jerky, from big fish bites, slow, steady sinks. At Lake Fork, a 3-gram float set to balance 9, fish 5 hooked big carp consistently. Float tips. Test floats before fishing to ensure no leaks and bright tips. Fishing gear for murky pay lakes beyond floats. Your gear needs to be dialed in for murky water. Rod. Choose a 12 to 15 foot rod, medium action, suited for carp and bluegill from 2 to 6 pounds. A 14-foot rod is perfect, light for long casts at Canyon Lake, but strong for big fighters. Too soft and you lose control. Too stiff and you miss light bites. Reel. Use a 2000 to 3000 series reel, lightweight with smooth drag for quick retrieves. A 2500 reel balances power and ease, handling 4-pound carp without tiring you out. Check the drag before each trip to avoid jams. Line. Main line of 0.25 to 0.30 millimeters, 6 to 8 pound test. For strength. Leader at 0.202, 0.25 millimeters, 4 to 6 pound test. To stay invisible. At Lake Fork, a 0.22 millimeters leader fooled carp in murky water. Spec lines for where to prevent breaks. Weight. Use heavier weights, 3 to 4 grams, to sink bait fast through small fish to the bottom. Teardrop weights work best in muddy bottom pay lakes. Light weights let small fish steal bait. Hook small, sharp hooks, size 6 to 9. Match carp and bluegill mouths. A size 7 hook is ideal for 2 to 4 pound fish. Check sharpness style hooks lose fish. At Lake Fork, size 7 hooks with small bait hooked big fish all day. Making bait for murky pay lakes. Bait is make or break in murky water with small fish. Commercial bait. Use carp or bluegill pellets, dynamite baits, Berkeley power bait, fishy or homemade bait gets you an edge. Use cornmeal, wheat flour, soybean meal, mashed sweet potato, salted egg yolk, molasses. Mix 1 part cornmeal, 1 part wheat flour, 0.5 part soybean meal, 0.2 part sweet potato. A DD1 salted egg yolk, 1 tablespoon molasses. Blend with lake water until sticky but not crumbly. Form balls 0.2 inches wide for size 6 to 8 hooks. At Canyon Lake, this bait drew big bluegill to the bottom. Forming bait, roll bait tightly, keeping it small to avoid spooking fish. If too loose, add cornmeal. If too sticky, add wheat flour. Test to ensure it holds in water for 10 minutes without dissolving. Use firmer bait to resist small fish. Chumming to attract big fish. Chum is your weapon to pull big fish through small fry in murky water. Chum ingredients. Mix fishy, chum fish meal pellets, cornmeal, soybean meal, and commercial bait for extra scent. Ratio. 2 parts fish meal, 1 part cornmeal, 1 part soybean meal, 0.5 parts commercial bait. Add lake water for a loose mix. Out of chum. Spread chum 15 to 20 minutes before fishing, focusing on lake edges near muddy banks or grass. In murky lakes, use 10 to 14 ounces per session. Split into 3 to 4 spreads. Rechum every 30 minutes to keep fish around. At Lake Fork, fishy chum drew carp in 8 minutes. Note, don't over-chum fish. Get full. Don't under-chum or they'll wander off. Best times to fish in murky pay lakes. Timing is critical. Big fish, carp, bluegill. Feed hardest early morning, 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. When it's cool and sunlight is soft, drawing them to the bottom. Late afternoon, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. is another prime window. Avoid midday sun, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., when big fish hide deep and small fish dominate. Cool seasons November to February. Big fish feed lightly, preferring fishy baits like worms. Fish the bottom 6 to 8 inches deep. Warm seasons May to August. Fish are pickier, favoring light-scented baits like cornmeal with molasses. Fish mid-water, 4 to 6 inches, near edges. At Canyon Lake, early summer mornings were gold for big bluegill. Fishing techniques for murky pay lakes. Technique seals the deal. Casting bait. Drop bait gently to avoid ripples, critical in murky water with skittish big fish. Lower the rod slowly, letting bait sink naturally to the bottom, 6 to 8 inches deep. Use a sensitive float, set to balance 9, fish 5, to dodge small fish, reading the float. Tell small fish from big. Small fish nibble fast, making the float twitch rapidly. Big fish bite slowly, with steady sinks or full dives. Wait for a full sink or steady pull, then set the hook lightly to avoid tearing. At Lake Fork, I lost a carp mistaking small fish twitches, so watch closely, setting the hook. When big fish bite, set firmly but not too hard, keeping the rod at a 45-degree angle. For big carp, keep the line tight, reel steadily, and angle the rod to tire them out. At Canyon Lake, I battled a 5-pound carp for 8 minutes by keeping the line steady. Real-world experience. Flexibility is key in murky water. Watch other anglers. If they're catching big fish, ask about their float, bait, or depth. Lake Fork, I saw a guy using a 3-gram red float and copied it, landing bluegill right away. Switch baits. If small fish swarm, use firmer bait, tight cornmeal balls, or worms. Prep 2 to 3 recipes. Cornmeal with molasses, worms, commercial pellets. Stay quiet. Avoid loud talking or splashing in open lakes. Pick a calm bank spot and sit still. Read the water. Bubbles, ripples, or fish shadows signal a feeding spot. If your float's still, move or reach them. These tricks kept me hooking big fish at Canyon Lake, despite murky water. Real story 1, Lake Fork, Texas. One muggy morning at Lake Fork, Texas, the water was cloudy as soup, and small fish were stealing every bait. My buddies used light floats, dark colors, and their floats never stopped twitching. I picked a muddy bank, chummed heavily with fishy cornmeal, and used a 3-gram red float with a worm, set to balance 9. Fish 5. In 8 minutes, my float dove, and I reeled in a 4-pound carp, thrashing like crazy. The gang went wild. Murky water, no problem. That day, I hooked more big fish, my bucket heavy, an adventure for the books. Real story 2, Canyon Lake, Arizona, another time, at Canyon Lake in the late afternoon. The water was muddy, and small fish were relentless. My friends used small, dark floats and loud chatter, getting nowhere. I chose a quiet, grassy edge, chummed with soybean mix, cast a 3.5-gram orange float, with cornmeal bait, set deep. In 7 minutes, my float sank, and I pulled up a 3-pound bluegill, gleaming in the sun. The crew cheered. That's how you do it. I added more big fish to my haul, feeling like the king of the lake. Tips for beginners. If you're new to fishing, murky pay lakes with small fish are a great challenge. Start with a 3-gram red or yellow float, set to balance 9, fish 5, and drop cornmeal bait to the bottom near muddy banks, or try worms on a size 7 hook in chummed spots. Note which baits and spots work, like bluegill after rain. Don't stress if your float twitches from small fish. Switch to a heavier float or fish deeper. Focus on early mornings or late afternoons, stay quiet, and chum regularly. These skills build observation and patience, setting you up for big catches. Safety notes. Safety first. Avoid slippery banks, especially after rain at Lake Fork, to prevent falls. The Canyon Lake, wear a life jacket near outflows with strong currents. Keep noise low and avoid casting shadows. Big fish spook easily. Set a light behind you for late fishing to avoid tripping. Store bait in a sealed, cool container to prevent spoilage. A little caution keeps your trip safe and chill. Prepping for the trip. Prep is everything. Check sunrise, sunset times via weather apps for prime windows. 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. or 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pack diverse baits, cornmeal mix, worms, commercial pellets. Prep 2 to 3 bait recipes for flexibility. Store bait in a sealed cooler. Bring a 14-foot rod, 2,500 reel, 0.30 millimeters line, size 6 to 8 hooks, 3 to 4 gram weights, and sensitive floats 2.5 to 4 grams. Red, orange. Pack a chair, sunshade, and non-slip shoes. Watch for bubbles, ripples, or fish shadows to pick your spot. If no bites in 15 minutes, move or refresh bait. Advanced tips to level up. Master bank selection. Twitch your rod lightly to spread bait scent or mix fishier chum with fish oil. Fish multiple murky lakes, noting ripples and muddy zones. Use fresh worms or molasses-laced cornmeal. In crowded lakes, find a quiet corner. Small fish swarm. Twitch every 2 to 3 seconds, or use a 4-gram float. These tweaks make you a murky lake pro. Wrap up. Fishing murky pay lakes with small fish is an art, blending the right float, bait, chum, and timing. That's a wrap, squad. We've cracked the code for murky water fishing, from picking floats to dodging small fish. Hope you're pumped to test these tips. Smash like, share with your fishing crew, and subscribe to Fishing 24 Hours for more epic guides. Got a murky lake fishing story that's pure fire? Drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear. tight lines, monster catches. See you on the next adventure.